Just one of my last two or so questions. Globally, the potential exclusion of Russia from the G8, what does that mean for the global economy and ultimately Africa?
Well, you know, in some ways they'd be doing everybody a favour. I mean, what does the if I go back to the paper I wrote 13 years ago, The World Needs Better Economic BRICS, what the hell does the G8 exist for anyhow? What is the point of having a club that doesn't include China but includes Russia? It's ridiculous.
Or do much, actually.
Or, of course, it doesn't do much because it's not very effective.
Yeah.
So, you know, in a silly, facetious way, the Russian conflict is kind of good because it probably means the end of the G8.
Right.
And I wrote a piece actually 2 weeks ago that Bloomberg carried, saying, why not be really smart and use this as an opportunity to actually try to bring global governance up to where the global economy is.
Yeah.
How can we have all these global meetings other than the G20 where China's never even at the table?
Right.
China's half the size of the United States today. When I dreamt up the acronym, it was less than a quarter.
Right.
China creates another South Africa every 3 months. It creates another India every 2 years. China's bigger than Germany, France and Italy put together. Yeah. And yet we have a G8 that doesn't include them.
So what would the next dispensation look like?
So my opinion, G20 is a really legitimate thing, but it's too big and unwieldy.
Yeah.
But it should stay. And Nigeria should be invited to join. Inside of it, we should have a new G8. We should have the US, Japan, the Eurozone countries collectively as one. So forget Germany, France. What is the point of these guys all being in this thing when they share the same currency and the fiscal policy is controlled from elsewhere? Why are they in it?
Sure.
I already said China's bigger than those three put together.
Yeah.
So the Europeans as one, Japan, the US, China. I don't know about the UK, maybe the UK because it's outside of this thing. But the part of me that wants to be not conscious that I'm Britain, I'm like, I can't say that because I'm British, so exclude the UK because we're not that big. And you end up with actually something like a G4. And at some point, the IMF has to take leadership and try to develop a mentality where these clubs can have relegation and promotion.
Right.
You know, every time we have a new G, it's important for the first time they meet, and then it loses its relevance. And it's because they lose their relevance. So why not have a sort of some kind of monitoring and scoring system where countries can join and
But what would you have them do? I mean, we've seen...
Well, because at the end of the day, and if I go back to my early days as a foreign exchange guy, the G5 Plaza Accord, one of the most influential things in my career. And that's because those 5 countries represented the best part of the world economy.
Right.
And they had a meeting and decided the dollar's too strong, we need to get it down. We need something like that, not about the dollar, but about many issues for the modern world.
Including maybe the dollar not being a default currency or being a default currency. Does this logic still hold that the dollar should be the default currency?
I think a really interesting question is going to be what the IMF does with the SDR reform at the end of 2015. They're due to, as they are by law, reanalyse the components every 5 years. And on many criteria, the renminbi should be in it. And whether they are bold enough to invite them and they accept or not is a key decision about all of this.
Will that be better or worse for Africa?
I think it would be better, because it would be the beginning of a world where US dollar capital markets are not so important.
Right.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.